Greetings, this is Fred in Alaska. Thanks for joining me. Made it out to a spot. It's a little, hold on, you guys are sitting a little crooked there. Let me straighten you out there. Oh, damn snow. There we go. That might be a little better. So, background stuff. I'm working on a project with the out-of-state production company, a large one. I'll give more details on that once I find out the nature of the non-disclosure agreement. Let's see what else. Some things on this channel are going to change. We're going to be doing stuff in a different format here in the near future, and you'll just have to see that when it happens. But interesting stuff. I think everyone will enjoy it, but it's going to be different than everything else out there. So what I wanted to share with you today, it was shared with me, and I want to thank Vincent Wassley. Appreciate you hanging out the other day and chit-chatting with me and whatnot and having dinner. So what I wanted to share with you guys today comes from a moose hunter from the village, and we'll just leave it at that. This hunter went out and went a ways away from his village looking for moose, and he was out there for 3-4 days, not a sign of anything. And finally one morning he's watching and he notices something brown up on the tundra going along, and it was down on all fours, so he assumed a bear. So took his binoculars and he was watching it for a minute, and as he was watching it, it went over a couple little tundra rises and drops and whatnot. He's just watching, you know, just being curious, just watching the wildlife. And as he was doing so, all of a sudden it stood up. It stood upright and continued down over this ridge, and then kind of stopped to where he could only see basically its head and part of its shoulders at that distance. And he's just like in shock, like watching, you know, like, oh, that's the hairy man. And he's watching it. And as he's watching it and kind of looking around to see if there's anything else around him more close, he looks back through, and as he does so, he realizes that's a hairy man. It's looking back at me. So it kind of freaked him out, you know. Made him real nervous. So he went back down towards the river and started looking around for moose there instead, you know, just kind of giving that thing its room that it needed. And as he's sitting there watching and glassing for moose, he spots a moose, and he's like, oh great, you know, that's excellent. So as he's doing so, his son shows up, and you know, he motions to his son to, you know, stay low, be quiet. His son joins him, and he says, the moose is down there, you know, go ahead and go get the moose, and I'll stay up here or whatever. And so his son goes and dispatches the moose, drops it, and so he goes and joins him. Now as he joined him, they quarter up the moose, they gut it out, and they have it all ready to go, but it was getting dark. So they left everything there, and the whole time he didn't say anything to his son. He didn't want to freak his son out. So as he's sitting there, he couldn't sleep all night. He was worried about the moose meat or whatever. But this thing was just off in the distance, you know. So he was really had the damnedest time sleeping. And so with that, he, you know, the next morning he got up and he was really worried that, you know, maybe the hairy man had took their prize, and it didn't though. Thankfully, you know, they were able to go salvage the meat and stuff, and they got out of there. Things like that, you know, you would think, ah, geez, that's few and far between, but that's not the case. There's a whole lot of hunters in remote places seeing these things, and they, for the most part, they go unspoken about, unless it's immediate family members, and even then it's kind of hush hush. And I mean, you know, it is what it is, some people don't want to talk about it. There's a certain feeling that if you speak about the hairy man will come. There's some superstition involving that, and other people just don't want anything to do with it, so they don't acknowledge it when it does happen. They just leave it alone, just leave those things unsaid. And I understand that too. I don't live in the village full-time anymore, so I can't pass judgment on stuff like that. Also, another thing that Vincent had shared with me was him and one of his cousins, they took off kind of late in the day on snow machine to go and get some firewood, and they ended up getting stuck out, kind of getting dark, so they didn't have sleeping bags or guns or anything. They just went, they just took off. And so they ended up in this spot where they had to turn their sled up on the side to block the wind. They each had their own snow machine, but they turned the one sled on its side, had a small little fire going, and Vincent said he fell asleep, and was not too long after he fell asleep, he was nudged by his cousin to wake up. And when he woke up, his cousin told him that, hey, there's eye shine over there. And Vincent doesn't remember the exact distance, but he said it was close enough to see the eye shine from the fire. And so at first he didn't notice because he was looking kind of low, and he had to look up higher into the trees to see the eye shine. And once he saw that, they fired up his snow machine. They didn't even let it warm up, and they took off, went out into the middle of this lake, and just parked there and sat. Now they sat there all night, couldn't sleep, worried about camp and whatnot in the other machine, but they didn't know what to do about it. So as soon as it started getting a little bit light out, twilight or whatever, they snow machined back over there, and they restoked the fire and stuff, and they were kind of gathering themselves, and sure enough, eye shine was back. So they got out of there. But and these are just minuscule accounts in the big scheme of things, but it just goes to show that there's a lot more going on out in the woods than a lot of people are willing to accept or to even acknowledge. And it's for me, it's a matter of public safety. That's the whole reason I have the website, so you can go click on the map. If you're going to that area, you could see what happened there. Even if you're just here for the story, whatever, that's whatever. But just know these things are out there, and this stuff happens, and it happens more often than people realize. And as far as forest friends go, I haven't met one person yet up here that would even consider that. Not even a little bit. This isn't the lower 48, so I'm not saying anything about what people have dealt with down there. I'm strictly speaking Alaska. And as far as Alaska, I haven't heard one friendly thing. They're berry pickers, for example, they get screamed at. Some of them have even tried to motion for women to follow. That's there's nothing friendly about that, especially with an oral history of abduction, getting eaten, all sorts of stuff. It just goes on and on. But again, thank you to Vincent. There's things coming up. Large production company from out of state's going to be up here real soon, and as soon as I find out the nature of the NDA, I'll share more, at least what I can, up until it's released or whatever. And what else? The format of this show, or whatever you want to call it, is going to change a bit. There's some things coming up, and some excursions to where it's going to be, well, you'll just have to wait and see on that. And I want to thank you guys for joining me. Check out the website, subarcticalaskasasquatch.com. There's a store there if you're interested in anything. It directly helps fund the documentary that's coming up later on. What else? And that's it. And I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and we'll catch you on the next one.